everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I am going to talk to you about the 5 worst books that I have read this year. There is, if you enjoyed these books, I always do that. If you enjoyed these books, that's fine, you do you. I'm glad that you found some love in them. But I, personally, did not. And I'm about to let you know all the reasons why. Okay, so the first was The Marriage Code by Brooke Burrows, and I actually talked about this one a lot more on my reading romance books for February video. It should be on one of my playlists somewhere if you want to check that out. But basically, it's a romance novel. It's kind of rivals to lovers. These two people kind of building this, to be honest, I read it so long ago, I can't actually remember the plot, but they're building a program, and they're both programmers, and then they move to India. The guy is Indian, the girl is not, and over in India you have, the best thing about the book was India, honestly. The food, the descriptions, I really loved that. The romance was just a bit, wasn't a fan, didn't really believe it, felt a little bit very surface level for what was a book on the longer side. The book was very slow. I thought it did try to tackle kind of cultural mishaps and clashes, but I think the resolution just wasn't quite enough for dealing with such a sensitive topic for me. And yeah, it had some nice moments, but I was just ultimately very bored. And the next book, this is one that is loved by many, but hated by me. And that is Iron Widow by Xuanzhe Zhao, I think. I'm really sorry if I butchered that name. Now this is the best example of great concept, terrible execution. Basically it follows a girl who, her sister, basically in the military, the women are kind of used up to fuel kind of mechas, and her sister is put into the situation and dies, and she basically goes off to the military to find out what happened and also avenge her sister. And it could have been so good, but in my opinion the world building just wasn't enough for what the plot was trying to be. The characters weren't developed enough, the relationships weren't developed enough. This book does have polyamorous representation in it, and I really liked seeing that. I thought it was quite healthy. That was one of the things I really enjoyed about it. But other than that, to me, the plot just felt like a huge mess. And I understand why people do enjoy this book, because a lot of people really love it. For some people, I think people who enjoy it, they enjoy the chaos of it and just the randomness and the kind of just the everything that's happening. I just needed something a little bit more developed for my tastes. And I also had insanely high expectations for this going into it, because I loved, and I still love, the author. I think the author is an absolute icon. Their TikTok is one of my favourite things in the world. But I had such high expectations going into this. I think the disappointment was just all the more strong. And in all fairness, that's not the book's fault. But yeah. So the next book on my list is The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation by Mo Zhang Tongzhu. Again, really sorry about that pronunciation. And this is another one that is loved by many. And in all fairness, my issue with this was not the book itself. It was the translation / the editing. This was originally a web novel, beloved by many, and it recently got an imprint edition. I think it was earlier this year. And to my knowledge, I think they used some of the original translations from online, which is absolutely fine. But in my opinion, Seven Seas just needed to do a lot more in the editing process just to make it read better. And ultimately, I had no idea. But I could not tell you one thing that happened in that book. And this could just be me, because I have a friend and she's having no issues with it. But I think it just needed a lot more work on the textual side, and it was really sad because it's good. And the thing is with those books too is they're not cheap. I think it was, they're £18, £20 a volume, something like that. And I know for many people it's more of a collector's thing, but for people who are new to the story or don't know what's going on, I just think the quality for that price just needs to be better. But again, when I kind of went and watched the anime, I really loved the story. I just found it really hard to read. I just don't think it read very well, which is really sad. Okay, so the next book, and this was one of my I was so excited for this because I heard it had an asexual character in it, and I love me some asexual characters. And the next book on the list is The Book Eaters by Sun Yu Dean. So The Book Eaters, basically, it's set in a world where there are these kind of people called book eaters who exist away from regular people. And yeah, they live by consuming books. And then there's also, so occasionally there will be a mind eater who is born who cannot live off books and feeds, like the name implies, off minds. The main character, her son, is a mind eater, and basically she needs to get him a drug called redemption in order for him to live. The book attempts to go for themes of motherhood, but also I believe, and I've heard a lot of other people saying, is a bit of a commentary on autism. I've seen a lot of people saying how they feel that the commentary on disability kind of has gone full circle, where it started off with good intentions, but in the end has turned out to be something quite problematic. Personally, for me, I honestly was not sure what the book was trying to say by the end of it, and that is quite dangerous, especially for such an intricate topic, because obviously that means there's room for things to be read in multiple directions, and the topic of disability is not where that sort of should be left, in my opinion. I found the beginning was really good, the setup was really nice, I found it really interesting, but the last 80 pages were just so painful for me to get through. I was like this close to DNFing it. I was just bored. It didn't make sense. Like, the development that I really liked in the first half didn't really go anywhere. It felt like it was trying to do too much. And I think for me personally, the book either needed to focus on Devon as a mother in the past segment and her kind of breaking out of Book Eater society and focusing more on Book Eater society, which is a very kind of misogynistic and oppressive place, and something that's very interesting to read about. Or focused on Kai as a mind eater from Kai's perspective, because that's the other thing. Kai does not, the son, the mind eater, does not get any perspective in this book, and this boy is a child. And it's, I don't know, it gave me a lot of ick in a lot of places. Possibly would have been better doing this as a duology, but it just needed more to be fleshed out and not actively harmful, which I think it accidentally, unfortunately, has turned into that. And also, can you tell I read that one quite recently because I can actually remember what happened in it. But the next book, the last book on this list, is She by H. Rider Haggard. And I had to read this for university. If I hadn't had to read this for university, I would have thrown it out the window long before I started it. It's classic. It's kind of like an adventure narrative. If I remember correctly, I've kind of tried to blank it out of my mind. But this group of men, they go abroad and they meet this woman among this like tribe of people called Asher. She who must be obeyed. Stuff happens, the men all love her, she's very beautiful. The book's got a lot of casual racism in it, lots of casual misogyny. The main character at one point even quite literally says, "Oh, I myself am a misogynist." And I know it's of its time, but I was bored, it was problematic, and in my opinion just had absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Because I know classics, they all have problematic things in, most of them, because, you know, times have changed. But I feel like there needs to be a balance. A balance. And for me, there was no redeeming qualities. And I've done it again. It hates the book too. Honestly, with hindsight, maybe I should have just not gone to the class. Maybe I would have been happier that week had I just sacked it off and not gone to the class. But you live and you learn. And that is my 5 worst books that I have read this year. As I say, if you enjoy any of these books, please, you do you. No hate to anyone who loves them. I just personally did not. Also, apologies for the very vague descriptions. I've tried to erase them from my memory. Next time I do this, I will have to do a little Google search before I start rambling again. But yeah, let me know which books you've hated the most in the comments, because I like positive vibes on this channel, but sometimes it's just nice just to mix it up a little bit, you know, get a little bit of a going. But yeah, it was lovely chatting to you all about my hatred of these books. I will have to do this more often because it was very fun, and I will come back very soon with a little bit more of a positive video on my favourite books of the year. Thanks all for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye.